help me, we're going to welcome our first speaker. Kim Stoneking is focused on helping organizations, individuals to achieve greater success and satisfaction by reaching more of their potential. He's helping them to take high-performing individuals and organizations where they want to be from where they are. With more than 25 years of management and leadership development experience, he's served as CEO for a variety of professional and trade organizations during his career. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Kim Stoneking as he comes this evening. Talk with us.
Just hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring, ting.
What we learned from elephants. Yeah, elephants are a great animal. They're big, they're strong, they like to work, great circus animal, but you got to imagine, what do you do with this 2-ton behemoth? You got to be able to control this animal. You got to keep them in place, got to keep them controlled. You can't let an animal like that just go off on their own mind, do whatever they want. So it actually starts when an elephant is very young. They take a small baby elephant like you see here, and they tie it to a big stake in the ground, tie their leg. And that baby elephant naturally, like our kids, pulls and pulls and pulls and can't get free. So it begins to condition its mind to believe and understand that anytime something is put around its foot, like a rope or a chain, that it can't move. Well, it can only move so far. And they do that until they begin to condition the brain of that baby elephant to believe that when that rope is on their foot, that they're basically stuck. And there's a lot of examples I could give you in the animal world as far as conditioning. Well, what about us as human beings? Are we affected by that? Because see, when the elephant gets bigger, then what they do is they put a rope or a chain around its foot and they attach it to a very small stake, one that they could easily pull out of the ground at 1.5 ton, 2 tons, pull that stake out of the ground and go wherever they want. But their brain's been conditioned to know that they can't do that, so they don't try. There's even stories in the history of elephants burning inside a fire because they could not get away. And I saw this once in my hometown of Kokomo. We were close enough to Peru. They brought an elephant to town, and you could take a ride on the elephant. And when it was over, the man went over and just pulled the stake out of the ground, but that elephant had no idea that he could pull that stake out and move. Well, what about us? What about those stakes in our lives? And there's kind of two examples. There's the stakes that we put in the ground and hold ourselves in place, and then there's those stakes that we put on other people. So what about the stakes that we self-impose? We're getting close to the end of a calendar year. 2014 is coming. And my challenge to you for this year and as you go into 2014 is do some introspection and decide where those stakes are that are holding you in place. And make a decision today to pull that stake out of the ground. Get you a stake puller and pull that stake out of the ground and say, I'm not going to be tied to this anymore. It could be fear. It could be fear's close cousin, jealousy. Or procrastination. It could be a stake of jealousy, bitterness. Whatever that stake is, pull it out of the ground and say, I'm not going to put that stake back. I'm not going to be tied to that any longer. And then what about the stakes that we put on other people? Sometimes we do that. And I'll give you an example from my life. When I came out of college, I was a high school band director. And I had a student, the first year I taught was a senior, and he got to liking me, and he came to me one day and he said, Mr. Stoneking, I decided I'm going to follow in your footsteps. I'm going to go to Ball State, I'm going to major in music, I'm going to be a professional musician, the whole shebang. Great, except I didn't think Jeff had the talent to do it. He was a mediocre musician at best, and yet this is what he wanted to do. Then one night his parents called and said, what do you think about Jeff's choice for a career? And I wasn't very encouraging. I was pounding that stake in the ground, holding Jeff in place. Well, Jeff graduated. Jeff went on to Ball State. Fast forward a few years. He not only studied music, he studied music composition. That's like, I'm not going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a brain surgeon. That became his major. A few years later, I'm the best man in Jeff's wedding. Here, many years later, it's now Dr. Jeff. He teaches music composition at a university in Illinois. He's written compositions that have been played by orchestras all over the world, and he's very well respected in the music industry. But I didn't believe in him. I tried to stake him in the ground. But Jeff pulled that stake out of the ground and said, I'm not going to be limited by that, and he achieved great things. That's my challenge for you this year. I wish you a great end of 2013 and a lot of success going forward. Good luck to you. Thanks.
Tingling too.